And didn't I just see you guys?
And we'll see him tomorrow.
And I gotta see him tomorrow?
Yeah. And Friday.
Day after that.
Friday, this is called Hell Week.
Oh, yeah.
Great day to be in Illini. And, you know, it's a wonderful day to add two young men to our program who we feel can impact us immediately. And we have obvious needs that we set out to to solidify those losses. Obviously, we know that Andre Curbelo could be a potential guy that could leave, and we have Trent Frazier and Alfonso Plummer that are seniors and that will no longer be in the program. And just to go out and continue to recruit high school players that, one, have the ability to come in here and play, but secondly, come in here and be a part of something really special, developing and getting better, and that excites me. Jayden Epps is a young man that Chester Frazier Chester was the head of both of these guys, and in terms of recruiting them, had been on Jayden for a long time, and it really fit. Combo guard, great strong body. If you want something to compare him to, I kind of compare him to a Frank Mason type player, and a guy that shoots the ball extremely well. He's got a scorer's mentality, and that doesn't take away from his ability to play make and make others better. But wonderful, wonderful young man, an extreme competitor, a gym rat, a guy who has a tremendous desire and passion for winning. And all those things, when Chester brought him to the table, all those things fit exactly what we're looking for in the prototypical guard for the way we want to play and the way we want to coach. He can play fast, he gets to the rim. Just fell in love with this young man as we grew to recruit him and to watch him. So a guy that we're very excited about. Sencire, very, very talented. A guy that's got a ceiling that's through the roof. There's so many things that excite me about him. From the number one, maybe as competitive a young guy as I've been around. He has a passion to win that is literally second to none, and that means in anything. I feel bad for his parents sometimes, because I mean, he's going to try to be the first done eating dinner. He's going to try to eat the most. He's going to try to you know, playing against the JV, he's going to try to embarrass that JV player. He has a tremendous competitive drive, which will allow him to succeed. Gifted player, can go get a shot anytime he wants. Extremely athletic. I compare his body type, if you want to comparison, to kind of a De'Aaron Fox for the Sacramento Kings type. But a guy that's very explosive, can get downhill and dunk on you 1 minute, and then has enough ball skills to stop and go get a three. He's a very good hard shot maker. There's not a lot of those guys. And then defensively, he's got great length, he's got great quickness that I think he can turn into a tremendous defender. Jayden as well. Jayden's so bullish and strong, and both these young guys, I think, defensively can excel at this level. So we're excited. They meet our needs. We know we've got losses, and we feel like that these two young guys can step in and fill those spots.
Coach, you watch these two guys on film. They're both bucket getters. How do you feel about their ability to be a primary ball handler and facilitator? Are you confident in that as well?
Yeah, I think that both of them playing ball screens very well. I think that I compare them in different ways a lot to Trent. Trent was a primary scorer coming out of high school that made the adjustment quite nicely. I'm all about guys that they have to be able to score. And if you can't score and shoot it in today's game, it's really hard to play at the high major level. And both these young guys do that, but they can also make themselves great facilitators. They're unselfish. They're competitiveness. They're good passers. I think that either one of these guys, and you play them together, you're going to get a duo in the backcourt that can do a lot of things, and not just for themselves, but for everybody else.
Brad, obviously in these last few classes since you've been here, you guys have really loaded up on highly regarded guards here. How does that help you, that pitch on the recruiting trail, and what is it about not being afraid to bring in 2 or 3 guards and watch it work?
We need about 5. We didn't have enough last night. And I say that, but it's become that kind of game. And we're going to be, we're very committed to our system. We're committed to playing fast. We're committed to, I've shown we're not afraid to put 3, 4 primary ball handlers out there. We've not been overly concerned about size. We need guys who can make baskets. We need guys who can score. We need guys who can drive and get in the paint. We need guys who can facilitate. I think we've become a little bit of guard you, in terms of the success that these guys have had. Trent's going to be a, 17, 1,800 point scorer in his career. Obviously, Io's success, the Cousy Award winner. We've got an opportunity this year with Curbelo and all those categories and above. And I think it's the style of play we play. It's the development piece that we have that I think attracts guards. And they're not all like pieces. They're all a little bit different, and that's the case both with Sencire and Jayden.
COVID created this unique situation where Trent, Alfonso, Devontae even got this bonus year. How did that change the dynamic of how you wanted to approach next year's roster, knowing that you mentioned you've got these losses plus another potential one coming?
Well, I think the interesting piece to that, Scott, is a year ago we set out and we recruited Dre with the idea that Kofi wasn't going to be here, and I think when you that helped prepare us a little bit for what could be. We didn't know what was going to happen, but Io comes back. I think when you're recruiting good players who are branching out and experimenting and testing in the waters, the idea of having good players, but also a program that goes around it, and bringing Trent back, that's a bonus. Obviously, Plummer coming in, we recruited Plummer with the idea we weren't sure what was going to happen with Trent, and here he comes. So now we're in a great position, but we know we've got losses, and that means opportunities for recruits to come in and play. So we've played on that pretty heavily.
Maybe this is a better question for Fletch, but is the body type for Sencire an advantage for you or a problem, or do you feel like there's an avenue of growth there that can happen once he gets here?
All the above. He's got to get stronger. He knows that. I think but he's also that guy that's wiry, strong. He's fearless. He's got a confidence about him. Yeah, I mean, he's going to have to, figure that part of it out. But he's also got some speed and quickness and athleticism that not many have. He's got shot-making ability that not many have. There'll be some adjustment, but that's why we've got the best strength coach in the country as well.
Yeah, hey Coach, Sencire Guards obviously goes to a high school that a pretty legendary player LeBron James goes to, and the expectation there is to win a lot of games every single year. And that's something you've talked about in the past about wanting to recruit. How much does that excite you to have someone that understands the importance of winning and the expectation of it coming in?
Yeah, Jayden won a state championship. It's a huge piece for us, guys. It's a huge piece. Winning is really hard to do. Changing guys' mentality from a loser mentality to a winning mentality doesn't happen. It's hard. It's really hard to do. And so, you know, that's part of the character piece we look for when we step out and recruit them. And obviously, both these young men come from programs and have been involved in programs where they've been very successful. They've been very well coached. They've been challenged. And all those things go hand in hand with winning. And so, you know, that makes the process for us in evaluating magnified that we want those kids. Those are the type of guys we want in our program.
Given the opportunity to sustain high-level success within the program, and then you had the turnover on the staff, how important was it for Chester to come in with those connections and just to be able to fill those needs, even with the challenge during that period of time?
Big part of it, absolutely. And you know, I think the one thing that's always impressed me with Chester is, you know, here's a guy that got a job when he was 25 and didn't know anybody, and didn't know the recruiting game, so to speak, in terms of the national level. And all of a sudden, you start looking at the guys he's recruited and where they're playing and how much success they've had, and he's got a wealth of experience now. He's a veteran at a very young age, and you know, to bring somebody like that on board was a huge piece for us, and it was very, very important to me. And a guy that you know, literally hit the ground running, and was in a really good position with those young men, and then we just had to sell myself and the Illinois factor to those guys.
Coach, I assume you're not done in the class of 2022. What do those scholarship numbers look like with these two guys signed for next year? And do you have an idea of positions that you still would like to fill?
Yeah, you know, I don't think you ever stop recruiting in today's world. I just don't think that the culture, the system that we have now in place allows for that. You know, we're obviously, you know, there's a lot of the what ifs, you know, in terms of, you know, who has a great year, who wants to declare for the draft. You've always got those issues, so you better recruit every position. We are recruiting every position. We know we need to continue to do that. You know, so to say we're recruiting bigs, we are. To say we're recruiting forwards, we are. To say we're recruiting guards, we are. You just don't know what's going to transpire. The given is this: Plummer and Trent and DeMonte are not coming back, and we know that. The interesting piece to that is we have one scholarship open, okay, and DeMonte and Trent don't count. So, you know, you start looking at those pieces, and like you said, you just you know what you have, and you know what you can go get, and we've gone out to establish that, and then, you know, the rest we just keep recruiting.
Sort of spinning out Piper's question about Chester, the perception of him from the typical lineup fan would be defensive coach, defensive, you know, intensity, and we didn't know that he would become an ace recruiter. Could you talk about the personality traits that maybe influence both of those capabilities, and other things about him personally that allowed him to make this leap?
Yeah, well, I think you compare all of that and you put all that together with, it's the way I am, and I think the way we play is in both these guys' cases that he brought really suit the way we want to play, fast and scoring guards, and not your traditional, doesn't have to be your traditional set it up point guard that's going to run a set every time and facilitate for others. Yeah, we can go get those guys too, but Chester's personality is an aggressive one. It's yeah, we talk about him defensively, but we also play fast and want to score in under 7 seconds, and we want to push the ball. And to do that, you've got to have guards who can facilitate, you got to have guards who can score, and And so it's just a great mesh between Chester and our program, and obviously, you know, he's got a little bit of extra juice in him, having some sweat equity in this program, and you know, in terms of selling it, and there's nothing better than having someone with firsthand knowledge talk about his experience and what this university's done for him. So pretty special to have one of your own here.
Brad, can you take us behind the scenes a little bit, I guess, to those summer months when you guys have a staff turnover? I'm assuming that would change your board in some capacity, and then you hire someone like Chester who's already been in on some guys. How did you get caught up to speed and get to these guys in this early portion of it? I would assume it kind of felt hectic at times.
Yeah, you know, I thought it was pretty seamless. You know, obviously you guys follow it and you know, but it became just it's almost like you know, you just change seats, you slide over and start the car, and you're off and running. You don't worry about it. You just push go and push the accelerator and you're off. And the transition was pretty seamless. It just so happened he's recruiting a couple of guards. It just so happens that we're going to lose a couple of guards, and it was just the perfect fit, and they just happen to be top 100 guards and really fit what we do, and you know, those were our primary needs, and we just addressed those today with the signing of those two young men. So it was a perfect fit.
Jayden transferred this summer and playing national schedule at Combine Academy. How can that be advantageous for him in his last year of high school?
Yeah, I think it's tremendous. One, he plays for a guy who has achieved tremendous success in Jeff McGinnis. Jeff does a great job. I was in, watched the practice. It's fun to watch them practice. He gets after them, he coaches them. Obviously playing on a national schedule, he's going to get challenged every night. He's had a couple of big nights against some of the best already in their first few games. You know, I think he said 39 and I don't know, Chester, what, 35 or 33? And you know, so it's going out and proving it on the national level. And I'm telling you now, he's an elite bucket maker. And but he's also getting coached, and he's playing against the best, and that's what he wanted, and I'm excited that he's getting the opportunity to grow that way.
If you do get Bello back for another year, what do you think about Jayden's ability to play with him, and then if he has to fill that point guard role, how do you see that dynamic of, you know, play together or play the point?
It's beautiful because either one of those guys can play all over. And I mean, I look at it like you know, you want to go back a year, you go back to Dre and Io and Trent, and you've got different spots and different sizes and guys who can, but they can all score, and they all did it in different ways. And what you cannot do in college basketball, in my opinion, is just put a guy out there who can't score. And both those guys are even though they're drastically different, they can both go get their own, and they're both really good scorers, and Sencire's numbers are going to be as good as you know, his team plays a certain style. I mean, had he been on the circuit this summer, I mean, we would all have got to see his shot-making ability. But yeah, we've got three guys, and if we're that blessed and all that happens, we're in a really good spot.
Coach, I know it's hard to evaluate where it's going to be at the end of the year, but at what point do you start paying attention to the transfer portal? And I know it's tough with your numbers and everything, but with how much of an influence that has on the game, when do you start paying attention to that?
Never stopped. I don't know how many. Somebody told me there's 80-some in there already.
Yeah.
Never stop. We've got potential scholarship open a semester. You're always looking. You never know where that piece may come from. You know, Tyler checks that every day. He gets the list of the coaches that are are out recruiting, and if they haven't checked it, which most of them do anyway, then, you know, we're on it. If there's somebody that we need to look into. So, you know, it's starting to become an important time of year again, as we're going to see kids enter the portal as the semester comes a little closer to the end and games have started.
From a big picture standpoint, how does recruiting change now that you're winning at the level you are? You have Iowa in the NBA, you got NBA people looking at Bello and Kofi versus maybe selling a vision earlier on. Have you noticed a difference in just in terms of the feedback or how that goes in terms of seeking out players?
There's definitely a difference, you know, and I think the one thing that's happened is you know, your brand is not that we weren't on TV, but we're now on TV, and that impacts, you know, that impacts so much. You've got guys that are up for national awards. You've got guys that you're one seed. You've got guys that and our program's constantly being talked about. Those are all awesome things, and kids want to be a part of that. And when we can come here and show them new facility being built, the State Farm Center, the culture, the environment, the success that Iowa's had, all of that is stuff that is being very well received nationally. I think that our style of play is exciting, so I think it's just kind of all formulated. It's all coming together as it should, with the facility, the winning, and we've got to keep recruiting. But you know, I use the term, we got to stay thirsty, and we got to keep grinding. We've got to keep after the guys that are the fit for us, but we've got to keep after. And I think to best sum it up, I think we're more, kids are more receptive to letting us in. Before it was like, oh, coach, we know a little bit about Illinois Big Ten, but nah, not really. Now I think we're fighting in a different ring, so to speak.
Since you hired Tyler, what kind of influence has he had on the recruitment process that you have, whether it's with high school kids or transfers?
Well, he can't have a lot. You know, internally he has much more in terms of the day-to-day operations from that standpoint. But obviously, you know, he's doing a ton of research on everybody who's in the portal. He's passing that information around and just keeping up to date with it. You know, he's young enough that he's got, when we do bring kids to campus, he's hip, he's got their you know, all the things that he can relate to. So, you know, I think there's comfort that way, but he's working his tail off, and he's doing a great job, and again, it's something that is obviously a big part of our game today, is that portal.
It's a follow-up to Derek's question, but after Iowa's game against the Celtics, post-game, he talked about how his development here set him up to have the success he's having early. You play that on a loop at Albany?
Yeah, pretty much. You can't get a more glowing endorsement for your program, for your culture, for what we teach than that. And yeah, it's refreshing, it's nice. He hasn't forgot about us. He hasn't, you know, just moved on. And, you know, when asked, you know, where he's from, he doesn't say Morgan Park, and he, you know, says the University of Illinois, like so many of the guys do. He's just, that was huge. That was huge. And we do play the same style of defense. So, you know, a lot of that was stuff that we can talk about with recruits, and we do talk about it. We'd be foolish not to.
When you go out to recruit, how much is the defensive end part of the equation with you guys? Because I think I remember you saying that when Trent came in as a freshman, he wasn't really that interested in guarding anybody, and now he's a defensive player of the year candidate. Is there a sense that, well, if we get him here, he'll guard? Or is that part of the equation before he ever comes on campus?
Both. I think we're the only team in the country last year in top 10 in OER and DER. And, you know, we have the saying, you know, when we talk a lot about offense, okay, everybody wants to, yes, you have to have guys who can score. You do. The game's just that today. It's very hard to put guys out there for long periods of time and win at a high level with guys who can't make baskets. But the playing hard, the guarding, all that stuff, you know, it's the old cliche. You know, offense wins games, defense wins championships. It still holds true, and we still believe that here. And we set out with 2 simple goals last night. Great example. You know, we had a lot of offense not participate, and let's guard and let's rebound. Let's guard, and we did those things at a really high level. So we talk about it all the time, and we talk about two-way players, and yeah, we try to find those guys that can exploit other teams by being really good at both.
There's been times in the past where you've spoken about some of your current players playing a little bit of a role in recruiting. The example that comes to mind, I'm thinking, is, you know, Andre Curbelo and his relationship with Alfonso Plummer. Were there any players maybe this time around that played a role or maybe had a significant relationship with your incoming class here?
Yeah, not as much any individual. Our players are our best recruiters. You know, no offense to Chester, and Chester built a tremendous relationship with each one of those young men and their families. I've been on them for a long time. But they've got to connect with your players. They've got to have that. They ask the players the tough questions. You know, they ask the players what it's really like. They ask the players what it's like to be on campus. So it's truly our players that can be the final hammer, the sails, and put the nail in the coffin, so to speak. But there were not anyone specific in those cases. Obviously, everybody wants to meet Kofi and be around Curbelo, and they're involved, there's no doubt. But you know, Chester had deep relationships in this case. But our you know, if they'd come here and our players were jerks and didn't take care of them, they weren't coming. And so it's every player has got to do his part.
Anything else?
Thank you. See you tomorrow.